Santa Cruz, Bolivia has been on my list to check out for a couple years now. Not necessarily as a place that I would move to right away, but definitely one to consider. Because after spending time in cities such as Asunción, Paraguay, or Cali, Colombia, or Guadalajara, Mexico, and a bunch more, I've gotten pretty clear on what I look for specifically in a city. And for me, in terms of population, the sweet spot seems to be somewhere between 2 to 4 million people in total. Big enough where you don't get bored after just a couple months and still have a real city life, but at the same time, not so big or not so touristy where it's going to attract short-term travelers, a bunch of tourists, or guys who are just passing through for the wrong reasons. And that's why Santa Cruz, Bolivia, for my research, was always on my radar. It had the population size that I like, it has the tropical weather that I like, it has the low cost of living and purchasing power that I really like. And after spending the last 10 months locked in building in Asunción, Paraguay, I wanted to travel somewhere now before visiting back to Boston in the summertime. So in this video, I'm gonna give you my honest first impressions of Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And by the way, if you're new here, I'm Alex. I left the US back in 2022. Now I live in South America full-time through earning online income, and I help other men do the same. So let's dive into the video. All right, so first impressions of Santa Cruz, Bolivia. Look, I think this place is on the rise. I think it's actually similar to Asunción. It's just maybe 5 to 10 years behind in terms of popularity, in terms of people that visited, in terms of foreigners who live here. I came at a time where it's the middle of winter, so I didn't come at the best time for me personally. But first impressions, city on the rise, like I said, 5 to 10 years behind Asunción. It's also landlocked. Bolivia is a landlocked country. So arriving here feels more like, again, very similar, but I think more untapped opportunity here. There's a zone that I live in, it's called Equipetrol, which is how it has a lot of new developments. This place is growing. And it already has a lot of good infrastructure in place. I think it's more walkable than Asunción as well. I have literally so many options here in terms of good coffee shops with good places to work from, comfortable seating, really good restaurants for really good prices. I'll get into all this stuff in more detail in this video. There's just less foreigners, right? So there's pros and cons to that. I came here with a group of friends, actually. Just ironically, it happened that way. I was already planning to come here before I went to Boston. And some friends in Asunción just ironically came at the same time. So it's actually been really cool that they're here too. Some of them already left. I've already been here for a little over 3 weeks now. But they're all saying the same thing. They all like it here. Overall, even a little better than Asunción, dare I say. It's just that you don't get the same type of network, the same type of community, which has its pros and cons, right? If you're in a place like Asunción, Asunción's also on the rise. It's also growing. It already has expats. It already has like a good network and aspect to it. Versus here, that's very, very... It's kind of untapped here. I'll just put it that way. And fewer foreigners means very little English spoken here. I'll give you an example, all right? So I had a skin abscess. I think a spider bit me. Actually happened twice to me in Asunción where I had to go to the emergency room a few times each time. And this happened literally 3 days before I had to leave for Santa Cruz. So I already knew it was a spider bite. I know what it feels like. I knew what was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna be a skin abscess. I went to the emergency room the next day and they put me on antibiotics. I was debating whether or not to come to Santa Cruz within that period of time where I was still on antibiotics, where I had to go to the emergency room. They had to like check on it. They had to basically cut it open. I won't go into the details. But it was like, all right, do I want to wait this out in Asunción where I know that the hospitals are really good? I'm really familiar with the process. I've had really good experiences with hospitals in Asunción. First is going to a completely different country where I have no idea how their medical system is and what the process is like and how much it's going to cost, right? So I decided to bite the bullet and keep my trip to Santa Cruz because if I'm going to seriously consider this place as a long-term living base, which I have, this place has been on my list. I don't know if I mentioned this in the video yet. It's been on my list for a couple of years now, right? Because it's a similar size to what I like and all that good stuff. But I might as well experience what the healthcare system is like, what it would be like going to an emergency room, right? So I did that. And it feels like it's a little bit behind Asunción. I'll just put it that way in terms of hospitals. But look, you get amazing... Oh, and what I wanted to say with that is that there's very little English spoken here. In Asunción, you can go to a good hospital and they'll speak some English. I've seen guys who speak very little Spanish go to a certain hospital and they'll actually... There's someone there that speaks English, right? The doctors, I haven't met any doctors that speak English, but there's someone there that can help you. Versus in Santa Cruz, not really the case, right? So if you don't have good Spanish down, then this place will probably be a challenge for you more so than a place like Asunción. But the value here is amazing. First impressions, again, like Asunción, it's great for early adopters. I think if you're okay with being an early adopter to a place that's up and coming, but still hasn't really gained a lot of popularity yet, there's pros and cons to that. This would be a great place for you. Like I said, not many foreigners, very little English spoken. New developments are rising fast, especially in Equipetrol. And just to give you an overall overview, those are my first impressions, but now we're gonna go a little bit deeper in this video. All right, so let's talk housing. First impressions of housing, I mean, even just looking on Airbnb, wow, what amazing value you can get here. I've stayed in 2 Airbnbs now. The first one, I didn't really negotiate because it was only a few weeks away and I just wanted to book a spot quickly in a zone that I knew was popular, and just kind of for 2 weeks I booked it so I can get a feel for the area, then I can book my next place. That's usually how I do it, 2 weeks as the first place. And then after that first week was up, I already knew where I wanted to be, like in terms of the zone, right? And that's where I am now. And that's where I started hitting up a lot of different landlords on negotiating, and pretty much all of them were open to negotiating. So the apartment that I'm in now is a modern high-rise building with a beautiful pool. I'll play some B-roll for you guys. And I'm also going to do another video in terms of what this place looks like, what kind of value you get in more detail. But beautiful pool, nice gym, everything's like high-tech as well. Really great co-working spot that I can work from. Really nice quincho or barbecue area with like even a movie theater room. It's really good. It's a really good building. And the best part of town, I'm walking distance from everything that I need, guys. If you guys aren't familiar with like Manzana 40 or like certain shopping malls, I'm probably like a 7 to 10 minute walk, even less, to get to these places that are really well known, really good landmarks in the best part of the entire city and best part of the country, really. So I'm talking resort level amenities. I'm talking ample balcony sizes, like modern finishes, new kitchen, like granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, really good size balcony here, which I obviously like. I like having some outdoor space wherever I live if I can get it for a good price. And guys, this is under $600 a month, the place that I'm staying in now. I think I'm paying like $575 per month. Again, I'll do another video when it comes to this Airbnb. But this same place in the best part of Asunción is going to cost me at least $1,000 a month, probably more, maybe. And landlords aren't going to be as negotiable. So that's what I mean by it's still untapped. It's still a little, like, you'll get really good value here. And the cool thing is there are more new buildings coming very soon, right? If you walk outside this zone at Equipetrol, even some other zones that are still livable but not as nice as here, you'll see many different projects going up. Similar to Asunción, I think Asunción might be a little bit overbuilt. Right? At the moment, they might have built a little too much too quickly. This place is at the point where, like I said, maybe 5-10 years behind Asunción, they're starting to build a little more here. And just to be honest, I mean, I haven't found value like this pretty much anywhere else, not just with housing. I'll go into restaurants and food and all that stuff in this video as well. And part of me does want to keep this place a little bit of a secret, because I know that even though my channel is very small, I mean, I've had people reach out to me saying that like people that they know are in Paraguay because of the bald guy. I guess I'm the bald guy on YouTube. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that like my channel had, you know, that much of an influence where someone is making decisions based off just what I share. Now it's very small, it's a tiny percentage of people, I'm sure. So part of me is like, damn, do I even talk about a place where I can see myself potentially living long-term? But at the same time, I mean, I'm not the only one talking about Bolivia. I'm not the only one that talks about these things right on YouTube. My goal, by the way, is just to share and be honest about my experience. I'm not here to convince you to move anywhere. Oh, you should be in Asunción, you should be in this place. I'm just sharing my own experience, why I make the decisions that I do. And if that helps someone along the way, then great. I'm basically talking to my previous self, maybe 5-7 years ago, before I ever stepped foot in South America, right? That's what this channel is about. So I'm not about gatekeeping. There are some things that I don't talk about. Like you guys know, I don't talk too much about dating. If you're not familiar with the channel, I don't really talk too much about dating or specifics, like in terms of how I negotiate these rents. But if you guys want more of that stuff, I'm considering creating a paid tier on YouTube. There's different things you can do as far as like $5 a month or $10 a month. So if you're interested in that, just leave comments, send me emails. I'm willing to create private videos for those of you who are more serious and want to know more in the details into this life. But all that just to say, this is probably the best value that I've experienced in South America. Let's talk safety. So safety first impressions. I mean, from the airport to the Airbnb to walking the entire zone, guys, I felt very safe here. This is very, very safe. Similar to Asunción, right? I've been out here too. I'm not a huge nightlife guy, but I've been out to certain clubs. I've been out to bars like 3-4 a.m. in the morning. Walking alone by myself, walking with a girl that I'm seeing. I've actually dated a few girls here, so I'll probably talk a little bit about dating in this video too. I will talk about a little bit of dating in this video. But never felt unsafe walking, you know, again, at night, during the day, within this zone, within Equipetrol. Of course, there's other zones that you probably want to avoid. There are certain ones that you can still live in. It's still livable, but it's not as safe and not as nice as this part of Santa Cruz, but it feels genuinely very safe. As far as the blockades, I know some of you have reached out to me about that. So blockades, I think it was also a national emergency here, like literally yesterday. What's today? Today's the 24th of June. Wow, it's already freaking almost end of June. That's crazy. But yeah, so look, none of that is affecting here in Santa Cruz. I feel very safe here. It hasn't affected my quality of life here at all, or the locals here at all. The only thing it does affect is that there are some supply shortages, and there are a lot of flight delays. I've had three friends that have left here since I've been here, and all of them experienced delays, at least one or two like flight delays. So I think that has something to do with it. But outside of that, I mean, the situation's fine. Again, no problems with safety on my end, even during these times of a national emergency. Yeah, so for me, I mean, it feels like a very safe city. Now let's talk food and dining. So first impressions in terms of food and dining, wow. You can get high level quality restaurants. I'm talking like nice French restaurants, nice Spanish restaurants, delicious Italian or steak restaurants for literally $10 to $15 per meal. Okay, it depends on what time you go to. If you go to there's something called menu ejecutivo. If you have never been to South America, a lot of countries offer a menu ejecutivo. So basically, think of you go during certain times, maybe during lunchtime, maybe 12 to 3, 12 to 4. Each place is a little different. But if you go during specific hours, they're going to give you the best prices of the day. And it's not like a Menú del Día. Menú del Día is more like a local spot where they, these things go for like $2 to $5 per meal. These are high level restaurants with amazing food for just, $10, $15. And part of me, again, doesn't want to talk about prices too much. But again, I just have to share my experience here. I just have to share it. So I mentioned French, Spanish, Italian restaurants serving full plates. I'll share some B-roll on this too for literally $10 to $15. Everything, again, within walking distance. If you're in the right part of Equipitro, it doesn't really matter where in Equipitro you are, actually. I consider it like 4 blocks. You got block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. I'm not going to say where I'm at, actually. But whichever block you're in, I think certain blocks are better. And again, if you want more detail with this, I'll consider making some private videos for you guys. But no matter what block you're in, then you're going to have plenty of restaurants, plenty of bars, plenty of things to do, coffee shops to work from. So it's all good. It's all good here in Equipitro, in my opinion. And there's even really good places for lunch where I literally eat lunch for like $3 for a really good meal. I'll even share a B-roll of a certain place, like, a complete meal for just $3 to $4. Yeah, I think the value here is better than anywhere else that I've seen, if I'm being 100% honest. Weather here, I got here late May, and we're now in almost late. We're pretty much in late June right now. So when I first got here, literally the first week was awesome. It was t-shirt weather. Maybe like 70s, mid 20s Celsius, 70s Fahrenheit. And it was perfect. But then once we got into June, like more into June, it started getting cold. Right now, today I think it was 13 degrees Celsius, which is like low 50s. It was rainy. Not my type of weather. Think like Bogota, Colombia weather around this time of year. We are in the winter time. We are in like the middle dead of winter. So from what I've been told by locals, this is going to be the coldest that it's going to get in the entire year. And it's going to last maybe 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere around there. So it's not the entire winter, like June, July, August. It's going to last about 6 to 8 weeks where we have this cold front. And then once we get August, it's going to get warm again, which is what I like. So I just came at the worst possible time for me when it comes to weather, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm glad I experienced it this time of year. What I'm thinking, guys, whether I choose Asunción or Santa Cruz as my main base to live the majority of the year, somewhere in June or July is where I want to be, somewhere tropical, somewhere maybe like a beach. I'm thinking the coast of Brazil. I'm thinking Santa Marta or Cartagena, Colombia. I'm thinking DR, maybe Santo Domingo or cities in DR during this specific time of year. Because for me, I don't know how important weather is for you, but for me, when I'm in cooler than expected weather, like low 50s right now, rainy, it affects my mood. I'm not as happy as I could be. When I first got here, I was really, really happy. Now I'm like, man, this weather sucks. I got to walk out. I don't mind wearing jackets and all that, but it's freaking cold. I don't like being in cold weather. It's just me. Another thing to look out for, I hear in October from, I met a guy here, as far as making friends, guys, it's pretty easy to make friends out here too. Met a guy at a park, right? I do calisthenics outside. I was at the park, guy from Austria, really cool guy. He's lived in Bolivia for 14 years, because he's been each one 7 years. He lived in La Paz for 7 years, where I think his wife is from. And then he's lived here in Santa Cruz for 7 years. And every time in October, he tells me that there's like the burning season. It's like where it gets smoky. The pollution is just terrible. It's not really bearable at all. So he he travels outside the country during that month. So if you're very, very sensitive to air pollution, consider not being here in October, from what I hear. All right, and outside of that, I mean, Santa Cruz really it is my type of weather most of the year. It's tropical, it's warm. You know, it gets pretty hot here, similar to Asunción, which I like. I don't mind that. It's just during June, July are really the 2 months where I prefer, you know, better weather. But for me, it's my type of weather for the majority of the year. And I'm cool with traveling, you know, when the weather's not ideal for me. That's why I've already been considering. Again, I think my two best, Asunción's my base. You know, that's where I have, it's where I have residencies, where I have cedula. Here is actually a contender, guys. It's really a contender as far as whether I want to choose here or Asunción. They're very similar, as I said. It's just one's a little more behind than the other. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being an early adopter. There's certain pros that I think outweigh the cons for me personally. Someone who speaks, you know, very good Spanish, someone who's very adaptable, someone who likes being in an upcoming city. And, you know, there's perks to that. There's also cons to that too. But I think I'm strongly considering getting residency here. And when I do that, I'm going to document the entire process as well. I still have to go to Boston and take care of some things there. I want to get a second passport somewhere in Central America, which I may do a video on that too. So there's other things I have to get done before I consider, you know, completely changing my base. But again, it's only been a little over 3 weeks, so it's tough to make that decision right now. I'll be here for a little more time. And maybe then I might come to a decision, or maybe I just experiment this place for even more longer, right? Maybe I come back here, spend several months. I'm not sure yet, but this might be the only other city that I've considered making my base outside of Asunción. And I think no matter what, if I choose one of those two, it's going to be good. It's just I still want to travel a little bit. When it gets cold here, maybe I go to a beach town for a couple months, visit Boston during that time too. I'm still considering like the ideal setup for me, but weather here, hopefully that gives you a good idea as far as the weather. All right, let's talk dating and social life, guys. I don't really talk too much about dating as you know, followers of the channel really know. I don't want to attract that type of foreigner. I don't want to, just to be blunt, guys, it doesn't help me at all right? Some girls that I date know about this channel, so it doesn't serve me to go into detail about my dating life, right? Now, I'll just stop there. But in just over 3 weeks here, I mean, I've been on multiple dates here. If you're in a city, here's why I say it's good to be in a city of at least 2 million. No matter what city, no matter what country you're in, you're going to find attractive women, plenty of attractive women, where there's over, you know, 2 to 4 million population. I don't care where you are. There's going to be attractive women in that city. So here, I feel like there's plenty of attractive women. No problem with the age gap. As you guys know, I'm 38. You know, I like younger women. I like women of all ages, to be honest with you. I don't discriminate, but obviously if I'm thinking more serious, more long-term, she's going to have to be, you know, maybe 10, 12 years younger than I am, which is fine out here. And a question I usually ask these women when I'm on a first date, for example, I'll say, you know, ¿has salido con otro extranjero? You ever been out with another foreigner before? And in this case, like out of the several women that I've met with, it's been mainly like a lot of them haven't. They've never met an extranjero, including like another person outside of Bolivia. But when they have, it's usually an Argentinian or Brazilian. Argentinians and Brazilians are basically flocking places like Bolivia and places like Paraguay. All right, there's a ton of them out here. So, and a big reason for that, specifically in Bolivia and Santa Cruz, there's a good medical university here. So they come here to study medicine. But outside of Argentina, outside of Bolivia, outside of even, I guess the Colombians come here too. They've never really hung out or met another like North American, someone from Canada or US, or you know, not many Europeans either. So again, that tells me this place is a little more untapped in terms of the amount of foreigners here, especially North Americans. North Americans are a tiny minority of the people that you'll find here. Even the guy that I met with at the park, the guy's been here for 7 years. He hasn't met too many Americans, like very few. They're a lot of, you know, mostly Europeans, obviously other countries in South America, but there's not too many people from the States that come to Bolivia. And as I mentioned, I like to keep my private life mostly private on this channel. But look, if there's enough interest where you guys want me to talk about dating, you guys want me to like show more photos or things like that, if there's enough interest and you guys are willing to invest into that type of content where I'll just create private videos just for a small segment of you, then drop a comment, send me emails. If I get enough interest, then I might do something like that, all right? Now, in terms of social life, I got pretty lucky. I mentioned already that there was a group of friends that came here ironically at the same time as I did. With them, I've been able to experience more of the city. I already had a built-in social circle here. So that part's been great. I'd say starting from scratch, there's a Tuesday foreigner local meetup here where it's not really a language exchange, but you know, they have dancing, they have activities. You'll meet foreigners there. You'll meet a lot of local people there too that, you know, they want to commingle. And that's every Tuesday night. And that place is popping. I went the first Tuesday night when I got here. And it was a really good experience. I think they were playing like salsa, bachata music all night. Really nice venue. They change the venue ups every Tuesday. So that's a great way to make new friends. I'd say coffee shops here. There are so many coffee shops that are good to work from. And it's easy to meet foreigners that way, especially if you're in Ecopetrol, which you most likely will be. You can make friends that way in coffee shops. I mentioned just going to a park. Obviously, gyms, are a good way to make friends. Co-working spots in your building, right? This building has a nice co-working spot. Sometimes you'll see people there, sometimes you won't, but that's another good way. And this YouTube channel, guys, for those of you who don't have a personal brand yet, you guys know that I'm heavy on building your own personal brand, especially in an AI-driven world. One of the perks of having a personal brand is that it opens doors for you to make new friends. Some people have already seen this channel. They might be in Bolivia. They might know I'm here. I like to vet people first, like on Instagram or some type of social media before I meet them in person. But it's a really good way to make friends. So that's just another tip when it comes to having a personal brand. But yeah, as I mentioned, this place has a smaller scene than Asunción in terms of expats and foreigners. But I think it's enough. I think if I were to be proactive and spend some time there, I could make a really good social circle here if I wanted it. And I think this place is only going to continue to grow. More and more people are going to discover Bolivia, whether I talk about it or not. More and more people are going to discover it. So I might as well talk about it while I'm here and share my experiences and, help those who watch this channel. All right, now let's talk beyond the city. First impressions beyond the city. Look, Bolivia, I think, has a lot to offer. I think it offers more than Asunción in terms of things to do outside the city. There's certain towns you can visit. Obviously, it has the Salar de Uyuni, I believe it's what it's called. That's probably the most popular attraction when it comes to, the salt flats. La Paz seems like an interesting place to visit. Sucre is actually the capital of Bolivia. A lot of people think it's Santa Cruz, or a lot of people think it's La Paz actually, but it's actually Sucre, which is a smaller city. There's also Cochabamba, which a lot of people talk about is worth it for the food alone. It has really good food compared to here. Which here, I to be honest, I haven't tried too much local cuisine here in Bolivia. I've had the hiba, what it's called, basically meat. There's certain parts of the meat, like you can try a heart, you could try like a stomach of the animals. But my point is, I think Bolivia has more to offer outside of Santa Cruz. If you're just visiting, if you want to have things to do, versus what Paraguay offers outside of Asunción. Right, Asunción, you can go to Paraguay, you can go to certain pueblitos. But outside of that, what is there? There's the Chaco. There's really not much else that comes to off the top of my head. Obviously, you can go to Encarnación. Maybe you can Ciudad de Este. That's pretty much it. I think Bolivia has a little more to offer in that case. If you're someone who wants to explore more outside the city, especially if you see this as being a long-term base. So that's a cool plus to have in Bolivia. And that's my honest first impressions after being here for 3 weeks. And if you guys want me to create more private content in terms of not just dating stuff, also in terms of like housing, like how do I negotiate prices on Airbnb? Because the Airbnb that I got is going for well over, it's at least $200 more. I was able to negotiate it like a couple $100 off. So if you want to learn tips like that, I want to talk more about my financial setup here, which is really, really unique, guys. I pay everything here as much as I can with QR code. I'm able to save a lot of money that way. So if you want to learn more about my financial setup, you want to learn more about just any little details that I don't cover in these main videos, then drop a comment, send me an email. I'll consider doing a paid tier. Or if you just want to watch another similar video to this one, then check out the one I did on Bucaramanga, Colombia. It's actually very similar. It's more of a chill, relaxed city. I call it the Asunción of Colombia. You can also call it the Santa Cruz of Colombia because it's a chill, relaxed city. Yeah, check that one out. It's called First Impressions of Bucaramanga, Colombia, and I'll see you there.